This is our story, and this is not about us. It's about a tragedy that happened in our life, and I hope that it can help some of you out there. This is my wife, Motique. I just call her Teak, and I met her in 1978 on a blind date. Thankful for that blind date. And we got married in 1981. And we had 3 beautiful daughters, who I was always very thankful to have.
So our first daughter, Shay, whom the story is mainly about, was born in September of 1986, and she started our family. Life wasn't perfect, but it felt good, and we were aware of the blessings that God had given to us as far as family. So May 2004 comes along, and we have a busy weekend, and the girls are going to prom. It was a rainy Saturday night. We were a little concerned about the girls and their dates and the driving, but everything went off without a hitch. And later that evening, they returned home, had a great time. We fed the kids, they played games, 3 a.m. Dan and I said our goodnights and went off to bed, not imagining what the next morning would hold for our family. So that morning, Dan and I and our youngest, Haley, went off to church. We were teaching Sunday school, 3rd and 4th grade at our church at the 9 o'clock service. And Dan woke Shay and said, "Hey, you guys meet us at the 11 o'clock worship service." And she was like, "Sure, Dad," went back to sleep. A couple hours later, a couple came into our church vestibule and said, "Where are the Livingstons?" They came to tell Dan and myself that our girls had been in a car accident, which would have been Shay and Chantal and Shay's boyfriend who was driving.
So we got to the accident scene, and they weren't going to let us go to the accident, and we said, "But it's our daughters." So we both just got out of the car, and here the coroner and a police officer who I've known all my life started walking toward us, and she told us the news that Shay had passed away in the accident, and Chantal was flown lifeline to York Hospital.
So when we got to York Hospital, the chaplain for the hospital met us at the door and took us to the trauma unit, and of course we walked in and they were working on Chantal, and as soon as she saw us, she just looked at us with tear-filled eyes and said, "Shay," and I looked at her and said, "Honey, Shay's in heaven, but it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this, and you're going to be okay." But that whole time, we all just felt like, as tragic as the situation was, God just lifted us up and carried us through it. We felt like we didn't have any unfinished business with Shay. We had all left her with "I love you" on our lips, and one of our favorite verses that kind of got us through the whole tragedy initially was, "No eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor mind can comprehend what God has prepared for those who love Him." We actually had that placed on the back of Shay's tombstone. But there's a lot of truth and assurance in that verse for our family. Another way we saw God move in that week was our church, Hanover First Church of God, several months before that had done a series with small groups with Rick Warren's Purpose Driven Life book, and then our pastor did a sermon series relating to the book, and we had the book on our nightstand in our bedroom, and I didn't realize Shay had taken that book, and she and her boyfriend were reading through it. And a couple weeks before the accident, Shay had approached Dan and said, "Dad, could you get me a couple of these books? I have some friends at school that I'm really concerned about the direction their life is going in, and I would like to be able to give them a purpose-driven life book." So ironically, those copies came in Monday, the day after Shay died in the car accident. So at her memorial service, we handed out over 700 copies, and we ran out, so we later had to order more. Through that following summer, this was in May, kids came to our house every Tuesday night, and we would do a chapter from the Purpose Driven Life book, hang out, sing a couple praise songs. Shout to the Lord was Shay's favorite praise song, and it was just a way to connect with the kids. And
yeah, our house was like a wake, just packed full, and I really learned to look at kids differently because they all were telling me some of their life story, and a lot of times I would say to them, "How did you know Shay?" And some of them said they would just seek her out in school because she was very good at giving hugs and just telling people that she cared for them.
That really helped get us through one of the worst times in our life, because we felt like it gave other people hope, seeing that we could, cling to our faith.
One of the questions that we did ask was, why Shay? And
why our daughter?
Why our daughter? And then we both knew, why not? But it really drove home what we believe in and how we can just help others. And I truly hope that it helped us realize not to be thinking about ourselves all the time, but to reach out to others in ways that we wouldn't have known how,
Yeah, we're thankful for the 17 years that we had her. It wasn't long enough, but it could have been a lot shorter. And we're just thankful that our family was able to support one another, and our girls were able to grow into strong Christian women. And it wasn't anything that we did. It's all God and His grace. And without faith, there's no hope. And we just desperately needed the hope that we would see Shay once again someday. And we look forward to that day because we have the assurance that she's in heaven with her Savior.
And as hard as it is for me to say, I know we're all going to encounter trials in life, and we've learned about this over and over again, but it is what really makes us grow as people and as believers. It's when that trial comes along, is when your faith is going to be tested, and we don't always pass. But I know without him, there's no way we could even begin to get through. We just don't know what tomorrow holds.